co-founder of Family Mind, and I welcome you to this episode with a fantastic leader. It's Archita Fritz with us. She has been a board member and PE advisor in the mid-market PE sector for almost 3 years as a solopreneur after she had a corporate career as go-to-market and everything in marketing for more than 19 years. So let's welcome her. And today I'm joined by Archita, and she's also hosting a podcast about embracing only and has tremendously insights about motherhood, entrepreneurship, leadership, and what it's really meant to be heard and be seen. So with that, I welcome you, Archita, with our first questions to you. So, if you focus on the work that you have been doing on voices and belonging, when we look at leadership spaces today, who actually gets to speak and who struggles to be heard, what do you say about this?
Yeah, so actually, I was thinking about that question when I saw the title of the whole kind of setup here, and I was thinking of a story actually. So I was very in my early 30s, I think 30 or 31 years old, and I was responsible for marketing for Europe, Middle East, and Africa for one of the med device companies I was responsible for. And I remember our VPGM at that time who pulled me aside after a meeting and was like, Achita, you do so well on stage, you speak, blah, 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 but I think you need to be more vulnerable. And I was like, I don't know what the heck he meant when he said, like, okay, be more vulnerable. And not because I wasn't or I didn't know what that meant, but because I'd spent almost 12, 13 years learning at that point how to hold myself, how to show up in a way in which people would take me seriously in that room. And that armor that had kind of built up was a choice, because otherwise I would not, be welcome into that room. So I think that's kind of where I'd like to begin the answer to that question. So when we look at these leadership spaces today, um, we were really good at speaking about inclusion. We continue to be good where it's now naturally how we talk about things. But who gets to speak and who, you said struggles to get heard, is about what is the credibility and that architecture around credibility in that room itself. So somebody could walk in and their confidence could be read as competence, or they're super direct, they have high energy, and that could be like clarity, etc. And so they might not have to earn the right to sit at that table or the right to have that conversation. But there are other people, and I'll speak for myself. I walk into a similar room, and in every single room, I have to build a case for why I need to be heard. Not because I can't speak up, because I could be doing all of those things, but like your accent becomes a filter in some cases. Your style becomes like a signal. So why is she so confident? We've never seen anyone like this in this room before. So, that gets mistaken in a lot of different cases. So for the people who struggle to be heard, they're not struggling because they don't have something to say or they're not saying it the right way, but because, I mean, we know this, most of these rooms were not designed for those people. So they're designed for a different default. And so what I've stopped doing is trying to code switch to that default, right? So if I catch myself, try to like stop myself from code switching to that default. And most of the time, I might be that first person who says this out loud and calls for like a change in ways others can also speak up. But that is how I have chosen to kind of show up in these spaces. And that's not for everyone, though.
Wow, Archita, there are so many angles. We started coming from vulnerability, showing up who you truly are, to confidence, scaring others off by confidence, and really you dig deeper into the structural dynamics that such rooms have. And I love your first recommendation, and I guess there will be more coming. So your first recommendation for all of you is speak it up, speak out. So opening up the room for everyone to see these structural dynamics that are obvious to somehow to
Yes.
open it up and being heard. And do you think that authority is also something that hinders unheard voices to be heard?
I mean, it depends. And I want to be careful with saying speak up because it's a huge
Mm-hmm.
privilege to say speak up. So there's this amazing book by Elaine Lynn Herring. I share this every single minute I can find. The name of the book is called Unlearning Silence. So, when you choose to not speak up, or when you choose to speak up, whose voices are you silencing when you do choose to speak up? And then when you don't speak up, um, who are you choosing, not to pay attention to, etc., and what are you protecting for yourself, right? So those are all deliberate choices we make every single day. Even me sharing on air right now is a deliberate choice. So I'd highly recommend people like navigate that particular book and see what resonates more with them, because it's not one way to do this. It's the way in which we understand our privilege in that situation, in that room, that gives us the opportunity that and a choice to decide
Mm-hmm.
whether we want to speak up, silence, or
Mm-hmm.
amplify.
I'm just nodding because I clearly see this and I also experience this. And I would like to follow up and dig deeper into this. So I know you're a mother of three. I'm a mother of two. So how has motherhood shaped the way you think about leadership and about those voices being valued in professional environments?
Yeah, it's so interesting. So when you told me that we're going to talk about this question before we got on air, I was extremely conflicted because I have never put, and this is, a discovery I'm going to have to do in my journaling at some point. But I would say for the first part of my career, when I had my first child and even my second one, I just was like, I know so many. I grew up with a mother who worked full time and had two women, two girls in India, a dad that worked full time. So I had aunts who were doing this. I just saw motherhood and working just a natural thing. It was not natural to me. And I married into a family where my mother-in-law's had a business for 30 plus years. And so for the first two kids that I had, I just was like, everyone's doing it. I've just got it. That's what I'm doing. Like there is no, it shouldn't change anything, And it was super naive, right? But I think my third one uh, cracked open a lot of questions for me into what it is that I want, what does like my life look like, and how do I want to operate with it? Because the reality is, as parents, time and resources are one of our like biggest constraints. We have this set amount of time where we've got to that we can be there for our kids like in the evenings, and then you like start looking back and you're like, good lord, like this week I spent 30 minutes every day talking to my kids. That's it. Between work, shuttling them from one like place to the other, etc. So time becomes like such a valued, and actually the most valued, um I don't know what the commodity or whatever for us. And that's what I learned through it took me two kids to figure this out. Yes. So that's just was my journey. And I also noticed that what motherhood taught me was I used to be, so I used, my early leadership career, I used to be the kind of leader that could command presence, authority, and then use that to kind of help drive decisions, bring people along. But I noticed with kids, you can't do that. They don't give a crap. So trust is super, super critical. So through having my kids, I learned about how important it is, like to make people feel safe. And in order to make them feel safe, just by having like a confident presence, a clarified authority is never enough. Like that trust is super critical for them to feel safe with you. And the title of mom doesn't change that. And so that's the same thing with leadership. And so it's a constant reminder is as I'm stepping into places, how am I creating an environment wherein people feel safe and comfortable to step in?
Archita, you are, I mean, saying time is a commodity is the most precise definition of time for parents, because it's actually that it's a commodity and it's a resource and it's limited, it's scarce. So I feel this every day, being a mom myself as well, and I can only emphasize the way that you also spoke to us that you create environments where you welcome all of the different people. So you welcome the struggles of being a parent. You welcome that people are feel seen and safe. I really love this. Is there one particular thing that you would say changed when you became mom and gave you a seat at the table?
I don't know if seat at the table was the right goal, I guess. So I
Mhm,
just look again, I have to say this, that's a privilege as well, right? I was so privileged to kind of see what motherhood looked like with work and
mhm,
getting the help you need, right? So I'm not under any illusion that I'm doing this by myself, right? I have a husband that supports the heck out of me. Like literally when he was gone for 2 weeks recently, I had to take out the trash and I had girlfriends in my WhatsApp chat like cheering me on. That's the level of privilege, right? Because the man does all the household chores. I have someone who helps us with cleaning our home because that was the first investment people told us to do when we got married. And we were, my husband was a college student when we got married, and they were like, whatever money you have, like that's the first investment in your marriage, right? So I've never been afraid to ask for help since I became a mom,
mhm,
right? So that was one of the things, as I saw my mom being so resourceful. Now again, she was in India, and you're just surrounded by a phenomenal like resources and community. Here I had to figure out what that community was going to look like in Germany, etc., right? So I think when you think about like that seat at the table, when I came back after every maternity leave, and then when I saw other parents coming back, I think what I noticed, and I tried to shift, and I'm still learning, to be honest with you, is yes, you're offered the seat at the table, but don't bring that other thing with you, right? So leave like school pickup anxiety at the door, leave that mental load of, the 18 freaking birthday presents that you have to buy for the 14 birthdays that are happening over the weekend for all the friends that your kids have made. And then perform availability the way people who have built that original table performed availability, right? Oh, anytime you need me, I'm available, like as if nothing
mhm,
else like exists. So that to me, when you have that seat at the table, is not belonging, but it's like, okay, yes, you can come in, but there are certain conditions, right? So I really do believe like I'm not someone who's ever waited for someone to change that. So as I came back from my maternity leaves, making it more natural to be like, okay, yeah, I'm leaving here at this time to go pick up, or I won't join until like 9 a.m. a call because I have to go drop off, or what, I have an art thing that I have to attend for my kids. So making that more natural versus asking for permission while you're at that seat at the table starts building a belonging for others to be also
mhm.
seen. So there's no sanitized version of what it means to be a mom or a parent at a table.
I think you have answered already the next question, but I'm curious what you're going to say. And I want to close us off with one question that I always share and always ask all our guests. And it is, if you would have the power to redesign leadership spaces from scratch today, what would need to change so that more voices are being invited to speak?
Yes. So, I've only ever been in leadership rooms that were optimized for performance. Yes, so it was
Mhm,
about who spoke first, who spoke the longest, who spoke with most clarity, etc. And we call that leadership. And so now, if I were to redesign things from scratch, I think the question is, what does the space need to create? So um and it could mean better decisions, it could mean fewer expensive, like like mistakes that we're making, or it could mean that we need to um even produce more, for instance,
mhm,
right? But if you ask the question of what does this space need to build, like why are we building this space, then you can identify like who, how do we welcome people into that space. And we stop rewarding like people who are like trying to fill silence in a way in which to show that, hey, I belong. You stop reprimanding people who might not have the perfectly articulated sentence, um, and assume that is preparation when they have a perfectly articulated sentence. So I think for me it's like, okay, what are we trying to build, how do we collectively set the rules of what we're trying to build, um, and how do we evolve that based on what our goals or what we're trying to build change, essentially. um yes.
And I think that's exactly why we have called this series Shared by Design. Because
Mm,
as you're saying, it's because systems shape our workplace, they shape
yes.
our families, and are not accidental. So they
Mm,
are designed. And in this episode, Archita, you have shown us many, many design levers, if you want to
mm,
call them this way, and what it really means to redesign, and what opens up if you approach leadership in a different and modern way. So thank you for being here with us today. I highly appreciate and love the time talking to you. The next series will be launched next week, and stay tuned who will be in. We will be starting on Monday with a little bit of a recap what has been happening in the last weeks and shows. And with that, I want to say thank you to all our listeners. Thank you to you, Archita, and hear you soon. Bye from
thank
our
you.
side.